Welcome back, Nick Lenz, Comic Corner Classics, us non-classics. This is episode number 1283 and Doubleshot number 1177. Now, the two trades I'm discussing are basically where the focus character is two things they have in common. One, the focus character is a lesbian, and two, they're both written by Greg Rucka. First up, it is Batwoman by Greg Rucka and J.H. Williams III. This book collects the entirety of the Batwoman feature from issues 854 to 863 of Detective Comics. Yes, the entire feature. All 10 issues are in this trade. Because here's something quite interesting about these issues originally. You see, originally DC just collected Elology in trade, which took up issues 854 to 860, and didn't bother to collect the follow-up story, Cutter. Yes. But here, we finally have those three issues finally in trade. I read them, they're good issues. Elology is simply put, it's basically explaining Batwoman's backstory, which is mostly kept in canon in the continuity, where she's formed military, the fact, though they do make a slight alteration with her in the current continuity, where she was actually kicked out of the military, as if here, where she just basically just left. Yep, and also she meets in these issues Maggie Sawyer, who basically has moved to Gotham City after divorcing her husband. Yep, this begins a romance that continues even in the current continuity in the Batwoman title, which Mark Andrego had to end for stupid and contrived reasons. This book also has the debut of the character Alice. Yes, Alice. A woman who happens to be, this was later revealed, this one was actually Kate Kane's twin sister, who is insane and speaks like Alice in Alice Wonderland. And here's the strange thing about Alice. She's never met Mad Hatter. Nope, never met him. I mean, that will be an interesting meeting. The Mad Hatter, a classic Batman villain, meeting Alice, technically a Batwoman villain. Also, the way J.H. Williams draws her in this book is that, yes, we get the fact that Batwoman is a lesbian. We get, so much overtones in here of that. Like how, one point, her hand, when she was interrogating a pregnant woman, her hand was moving very near to her groin. Like another point where she's actually licking her lips, where she's basically battling, where she's disarming Alice. And she's basically almost like the point where she's going to grope her. That's what someone pointed out online. I do kind of believe that's how J.H. Williams draws Batwoman. Now, Elology itself is an excellent story, and well worth basically where it was loosely adapted for Batman Bad Blood, where in the backstory as a child, she and her twin sister were kidnapped by this rogue criminal faction, and her father led a group of, I would say, Marines per se, because he's supposed to be a colonel. This is Philip Kane. He rescues her, but not her sister per se. As for her mother, her mother's no longer alive. She has a stepmother named Catherine, who doesn't call her Kate, not Katie, and they poke fun at Maggie Sawyer, where not Mags, not Maggie, but Margaret. Oh, and basically they actually have Batwoman, we have Kate Kane wearing a suit. Not a dress, a suit. Because that's probably what some people, women who are lesbian, do that. I'm not really sure. It's just how J.H. Williams draws it. And it's excellently drawn here. If you're curious still about the three-parter Cutter, you can kind of think of it as simply Batman inserting himself back into Detective Comics after Batwoman's had the title for about 7 months. And mostly just Batwoman deal with a serial killer. Mostly it's interspliced between the two of them. Though at least the Tris trade actually fixed the problem, because this was kind of the problem with the original issues. Well, on one page we had the Batwoman stuff, and another page we had the Batman stuff. They kind of fixed that here, where it's more fluid, which I appreciate that. Excuse me. And this book basically is necessary. If you just got Batwomanology, and you're probably thinking, wait, they actually had 3 more issues of this era? Yes, it was 10 issues. And Like in the case of the last couple books I got this Molly's. Got this book for $5, originally for a $25 book, get for $5, which is great. This book itself didn't come out not too long ago. No. This book was released roughly 4 years ago. Yep. It looks in great condition for a book that came out 4 years ago. And this book is just purely excellent. I give this book roughly a 9.5 out of 10. It's a damn good book. J.H. Williams basically is fantastic with that. Now, here's something quite strange with Batwoman. This is prior to the Flashpoint relaunch. She made 2 appearances right after this book, right after her run for the book. Her next appearance after a 3-part cutter was actually in the opening story of Wonder Woman 600, believe it or not, where she appeared there, teamed with Wonder Woman and a bunch of other female superheroes, where they fought Felix Faust, and then afterwards, hey, you ladies want to go to a bar? Okay. Interesting. The only appearance she made was in Batwoman 0, the very first issue 0 that the Batwoman series had. And that was it for her. She didn't really do very much prior to Flashpoint, right after this run wrapped up. But currently, what has she done? Well, since Flashpoint happened, she had an ongoing series that lasted for 40 issues, which felt... I was talking to the most recent writer, like Margaret Bennett, about this. The fact the book felt a bit disconnected from the Batman universe. Yep, it felt a bit disconnected, and it managed to last surprisingly for 40 issues. It had a good start to it for the first 24 issues. The last 16 are a bit controversial due to the fact that the creator in the book at the time, which is Hayden Blackman, who was the writer, and J.H. Williams, who was retained as the artist for Batwoman, had to leave because they were forced to leave by Dan DiDio. Because he said no to Batwoman getting married. I am not kidding about that. So he forced these two off the book and put Mark Andrego and made him basically his yes man. That is what Josh Hayes referred to him as when he was writing the Batwoman title. A run that lasted for 16 issues and had 2 annuals. Yeah, the 2 annuals that the first one Batwoman had 2 annuals, both of whom were by Mark Andrego. The first annual was simply just the conclusion, just basically wrapping up the previous run, would have to be abruptly ended because the creative team had to be forced to be removed from the book. And the book itself, like, in the court, well, he had the 0 issue, which that was pretty good. But the issues that came right after that were just not very good. He put out 2 story arcs. One basically dealt with vampires. The other one dealt with something called The Unknowns, which also called Clayface. And the book just ends at the end number 2. Yeah, and basically, Batwoman didn't do very much. Also, I also got to mention this. Now, prior to this book coming out, her first appearance was actually in the pages of 52. Yep, she was a recurring character in that. She also appeared in Countdown occasionally. She appeared, basically made guest star appearances in her books. She appeared with Val the Cow. She appeared in Justly Cry for Justice. Yeah, she appeared for like 1 issue. Where, get this, the initial plan, right after Justly Cry for Justice, was her part of the roster. But they had to change it. Yeah, it was basically, that was the original plan for the character to join the Justice League, but that never happened. As in the case the last few years, what has she done? Well, she was a feature back in Detective Comics with Rebirth on the Jameson IV, where she was there for pretty much continuous entire run, which is part of the Gotham Knights, basically this team, which never had an official name in the book. They refer to simply as the team. They've also referred to it as the Gotham Knights Protocol, or simply the Bat Knights. I kind of wish this team had a name, but never did. Of course, she also had a revival of her ongoing series, which I thought was really good. I even told the writer, Margaret Bennett, I even told her run was fantastic, and she loved the fact that I said that. And she also, like that, said that the second volume for Batwoman, her run, felt more connected to the Bat books than the first volume did, which she appreciated. That was indeed true. And she mentioned to me the reason why Tinia basically co-wrote the first issues, because they're both good friends. Yep. But as of currently, Batwoman is not doing very much. Not really, no. Alright, now moving on to another lesbian superhero, which this is something that Greg Rucka did in the page 52. Basically, he didn't create this character, he gave her the identity of The Question. This is The Question Pipeline by Greg Rucka and Cully Hammer. Yes. Now, Why in the world do I include her with Batwoman? Because she used to date Batwoman. Yeah, she's her ex-girlfriend. She became the Question in the pages of 52. Yep. Now, this was a backup feature in Detective Comics. While Batwoman was the lead feature, this was the backup feature. And basically, when Batwoman had her feature, my guess is DC was like, hey, why don't we just end this feature too? Not have it continue more than just 10 issues. Yeah, this lasted from 854 straight to 863. Pipeline technically was actually 2 story arcs. It's basically of chapter 1, which takes up basically 5 issues. It's basically like 10 issues. The first half of the storyline, it's just Renee basically investigating various things as a private detective. Her as the Question. Unlike, let's say, Vic Sage, who had a really definitive attire with a black suit, with a blue suit coat, the blue top hat, basically dressed in a nice suit. Renee's outfit is simply put like a t-shirt, or like a tank top, blue pants. Well, she wears the same mask that Vic Sage wore. But I'm like, Vic Sage actually trained her to be the Question, because the reason why he appointed her as the Question was because he was dying of cancer, and he died at the end of 52. Yeah, he was one of 2 characters who actually died in 52. You know, the other one was the Elongated Man. Yep, he died too. And you just have basically Renee beat up some thugs. Oh yeah, in case you're curious still, did she get a girl in this book? No, not really. She, at one point at the end of the first issue, she gets captured when she's trying to investigate and try to move her mask, but they can't exactly do it. Yep, they can't move her little facial mask thing, which that was something that Vic Sage, the scientists that Vic Sage worked with, that came up with that thing. So she beats them up, and of course she just busts down doors, and shows off basically the arc shows off that Renee Montoya is very muscular. Yep, so it's breaking, entering, basically normal detective stuff. This is basically the first half of the storyline. Just her beating up bad guys. It's basically there was also human trafficking, like real life stuff. Now, Renee was part of the GCPD, but she's since retired, and she joined, she became the Question, and she became a PI. The second half of the pipeline is her teaming up with the Huntress, yes, the Huntress, to continue more with this stuff. And they became very good partners throughout this whole entire storyline. Also, she changed her attire to where she looked like she's basically switched from blue to looks like gray, where she's wearing a gray suit coat, gray pants, gray hat, black button-up shirt, and she wears this throughout the entire storyline. And they basically this is just a quick team-up story. And of course, she basically, because Renee is a lesbian, she basically blushed this thing Helena in a bra. Yep. Though she doesn't have sleep with her. In case you're curious though. Nope, Renee and Huntress do not have sex. Though apparently it's very heavily implied in the Injustice universe these two were in fact a couple. Though she was also married to Batwoman. Yeah, it's just how the book was written. So they beat up more people, and this leads them to quite possibly one of the most strangest things ever to happen in DC Comics. Yeah. Renee, basically, she also runs into another woman, which they chat with her for a while. And then they come across Vandal Savage! Yes, Vandal Savage, who's got the mark of Cain on his forehead. And he remembers, oh yeah, did I kill you before? That happened page 52. So basically, they fight and they have an agreement to remove the mark of Cain mark from his forehead. And, basically Renee and Helena talk for a bit, and then Helena knocks her out to take the mark herself. But nope, Helena does not take it. It's actually Renee. And then she's like, this is actually in the desert. Like, Renee, take your mask. Maybe later. Yeah, it's later revealed she actually got the mark, and it's on her face. And it was on her face up until the DC relaunch. If you're curious though exactly what book she appeared in after this, she popped up in the last 2 years of Batman and Detective Comics. I think that was it. She didn't do very much prior to Flashpoint. But the thing is, After Flashpoint, she disappeared for... You're not going to believe this. She disappeared for 4 years. She did not make a return again until the last arc of Francis Manpole and Brian Bucciolo's run for Detective Comics, where she's back, but she's not the Question anymore. Though she later came back in the pages of the Lois Lane book, where she's back being the Question again. She's made sporadic appearances. Like, it seems like right after she wrapped up her Detective Comics, she next appeared with Lois Lane, where she's back being the Question, and she gets herself a beautiful gets herself a girlfriend, who just happened to be a former member of the crime the Cult of the Crime Bible, basically that group that she and Batwoman were frequently fighting in 52, and Batwoman was occasionally fighting in her feature, not much in Renee's feature. No, there's barely a mention of the Crime Bible at all. Though she did pop up there. She also appeared as the Question prior to this book. She appeared in I think it was Final Conscious Revelations, where it was her and her former partner Christmas Allen, who's now the Spectre. This is before Flashpoint, and as for where Christmas Allen is, unknown, because he's not the Spectre anymore. Nope, he's no longer the Spectre. For some reason, DC decided to restore Jim Corrigan as the Spectre. Yep, her partner is no longer a Spectre anymore. Well, former partner anyways. Yeah, he got killed off toward the end of Gotham Central. But yeah, in the case of these two books, well, both books, I give both a 9.5 out of 10. Both really good. The only case of the Question, it's still a good feature, but not as basically as in-depth as... Batwoman's got more depth to it because of how critically acclaimed it is. But this book is not really mentioned very much at all. I mean, yeah, it's Renee Montoya, a woman who, get this, later on, it was filed prior to Flashpoint, that Harvey Bullock found out she was the Question because, get this, because he had a thing of staring at her butt a lot. And he's like, I know that butt, that's Renee's butt. Yep. Because apparently Harvey Bullock might be a pervert. I'm not really sure, but it's implied he may have had a thing for Renee Montoya, but I think once he found out she was a lesbian, they're just really good colleagues. And it may have implied he may have had a thing for her in the past, but I highly doubt it. And yeah, this was, of course, prior to Flashpoint. I think it was in either an area for Batman or Detective Comics he found out about this. But both Renee and Kate very rarely appeared after their features wrapped up because, well, Flashpoint review was coming up, so their appearances were sporadic at best, like very little appearances. I mean, their feature only lasted for about 1 year, 10 issues apiece. Well, 10 issues overall because they both co-shared the book. And as I reviewed these two trades, I have mostly reviewed everything for Comics as far back as 2009. There's still technically 2 more trades left before I can say that I reviewed from like 853 to present, which is basically over 1,000 issues. But there's something holding me back. And what is it? There's a couple more trades. There's Arkham Reborn and Gotham City Imposters, which that is a 5-parter, though the first one that comes right after this is Arkham Reborn. I have not had a chance to review those 2 trades yet. I probably will review them sometime in the future if I get hands on them. I probably will, but I'm very happy to get these 2 trades done. And yeah, more stuff. And Greg Rucka himself, I'm surprised he hasn't come back to write Batwoman. Well, came back to write, he basically had Renee Montoya pop up in his Lois Lane book, which was awesome. But in the case of Batwoman, no, he hasn't come back to the character. Not in years. I mean, it's been like 11 years since he last wrote the character. So I would think it'd be a good time to write the character again, but who knows? Yep. So yeah, that's a particular review. Next video is definitely going to be One Piece. Okay? To the next video. Bye.